All right, here we go with another lecture video in philosophy and film. And as you may can tell from the logo here, the topic of today's lecture has to do with the Batman. A little bit of history here. The Batman first shows up in 1939 in Detective Comics number 27. And of course the character's been around since. 1939, his origins told, and that's what we're going to focus a little bit on here in this lecture. And his arch nemesis, the Joker, first appears in 1940 in Batman number 1. And these two characters become symbolic, maybe, of good and evil. So we want to go back to this origin story of Batman, and it's in the reading. I just want to go over it quickly. It's a pretty well-known story, and maybe probably the best-known comic book origin story is the story of how the Batman, who he is and how he came to be. Young Bruce Wayne and his mother and father were leaving the movies when they were set upon by a robber. He ends up shooting and killing Bruce's parents right in front of him. Senseless act of violent crime. This is Bruce Wayne's promise. He says, "I swear by the spirits of my parents to avenge their deaths by spending the rest of my life warring on all criminals." And that's what he does. He trains his mind and body to become this master crime fighter. And he gets the inspiration for his costume from a bat that flies into his window. And thus is born this weird figure of the dark, this avenger of evil, the Batman. So that's it. It's a very simple, short story, very powerful. It's this early event in his life that sets Bruce Wayne on the path for the rest of his life. The story has been retold in comics as well as in film and television. And one of the viewings for this unit's lesson is The Dark Knight, which came out in 2008. Here's a little background information about the creative people behind it and who inspired it. And a lot of the issues that we cover in this course are actually show up in this film. Problems of other minds, questions of evil and good, and dramatic irony, and other things that we've covered throughout this course show up in this film. And of course, the Joker becomes a symbol of what we could call chaotic evil. It's hard to understand what his motives are, and it becomes a central point of the story is figuring out what motivates this man for the actions that he does. He doesn't seem to be motivated by the typical things that usually motivate criminals like money and power. He seems to be motivated by something much more serious and perhaps darker and stranger. So that concludes this very brief video lecture. Cheers.